Howdy, y'all. Today I have a talk for you called Freeing Minds from Their Rotting Delusional Bases. Question everything. Question everything. Freeing minds from their rotting delusional bases and finding your precious brilliance. A lotus in the mud. On this channel, I attempt to share the radical, brutally honest truth about good and evil. I'm not trying to leave anything out, if possible. How they've arisen and where they are based, and where the latest research says they have come from. It's all in your mind. The filth of the Matrix hell realm, and quite possibly the brilliance of the original divinity within you. Why is that so impossible to the aggregate? The majority, if at all weak, will be shoehorned into camps. Like the fake-ass political parties are wings of the same crooked eagle. A mighty predator who often swoops down to steal food out of the other animal's claws. This is the archetype we're supposed to obey. The Hell Realm believers and the New Cage movement adepts are often both very delusional because they can only see the horror or they can only see the good. Well, it's going to take more than these extremely dualistic concepts to free yourself. Both are often very delusional. Like the Q cult or Jim Jones massacres. Yes, it is horrifyingly depressing and antihedonic when you finally accept the fact of the afterlife memory wipe, the veil of forgetfulness. Yet, if you aren't fully selfish, you can still do something to serve humans in a way that strengthens our empowerment and collective awakening, and maybe even figure out how to escape and transcend the filthy veil. Better yet, never go there. Better yet, never go into the electrocution station. Are you strong enough? In this realm, if you are adamant about escaping the endless reincarnation human farm, mental cage, and you're not making money, who will take you seriously in a place hijacked by capitalism? Keith the Stoned Ape, as his channel is called, goes on and on and on and does a great job of telling you how horrifically controlled our minds and our cultures are, and on about the deceptions, uncovering many, many layers of lies and filth in hundreds of videos. And then he says there are no good forces or white hats, that Sophia is an evil aeon to shit out the pussy worm Yaldabaoth. He even says his own mother used that term to shit him out. You know, to describe giving birth to him. Attempting to heal himself with ayahuasca in Peru, he only found more psychic evil, ayahuascaderos who were con artists and abusive, and worsened his his wound, worsened his wounding, you know. He went down there to become a shaman and help the world to heal, and he got more trauma bonded. So, this world is designed with layers and layers of hijacks, deception, and thwarting. And it takes a lot of extreme psychological and emotional, personal reclamation of power to not fall into this victimhood. He gives a lot of valuable truths, then goes into an angry victim mode, sounding like a 3-year-old, so full of complex trauma that he cannot see or admit the good, the divinity. He admits his parents were narcissists, and so, of course, especially with his zodiac signs, he shows these tendencies, though he won't admit it. He won't, he's cut himself off from communicating with others, so that's a good sign of that. So, that wound taking center stage. So, he just refuses to see or accept that there's anything good at all. The only rescuing force in reality is Christ Sophia within us. He and my friend Joshua, who I found searching for his talks, always say to this when I make this point, I just don't see it. Well, Joshua, if you only look at the layers of the matrix that everyone agreed to, then yeah. Josh says I'm wearing rosy glasses by making these kind of statements. Well, the thing is, I've personally amassed stacks of experiential evidence and awareness that have been glimpses of the true light shining through the filth of the Decepticons' matrix. And these glimmers have shown me so much beauty, wisdom, growth, bliss, joy, little periods of bliss and joy and potential freedoms that are all above and beyond the scope of the Hell Realm Loosh Farm, and it requires a mind that can get out of that. Yay. Yeah, the past life electrocution really, really sucks. But can you do your best anyway to free your mind from the lies of collective delusion anyhow? I mean, really. But maybe you can have sovereignty now and after bodily life. This channel I found called The Prison Called Life how to talk about how guys who aren't validated by women feel totally invisible. That was a really good point. For many years before my near-death traffic collision, I figured as a virgin with the physical illness, I didn't deserve to be a teacher, because I knew that the matrix, the society, would just judge me as a loser. But no one would listen. You cannot skip steps in awakening. Yet I have been fairly bad in that manner, like way too many others, especially on YouTube. Sometimes that catches up with you, man, when you pretend to be Mr. Enlightened. I used to get obsessively infatuated with totally inappropriate young women for years in my 20s after that, 7 years it took me to forgive myself for letting my supposed high school soulmate marry this other dude. After that 7 years, I got back into that horribly, old-fashioned mind control operation. My energy and creativity would surge. My Pisces moon and rising, I just thought I was Superman in those moments. Oh, I felt so powerful because that hidden part, that cut off part of my emotional body was showing itself, but was showing itself in a manner, the Motown mind control that love is obsession was making it so that I was going to not only ruin my chances to have a relationship with those people, but a lot of loosh would be harvested. And yet every time when my energy and creativity surged, that would yet that limerence, often it was, would invariably turn them off and push them away. I wasn't sexy. Thus, such intense pressure inside, to become a man in the way that most people think of it, yet such intense and intricate archonic thwarting and inversion was there, like the modification of love to go with the game. I got a few girls as a teenager when I pretended to be a player, an alpha male, super confident, to the point of abuse, mildly, just cockiness. But not when I was my real self, or not when I, was totally sober. Well, YouTube is in so many ways, with its 150 CIA and NSA sensors, a microcosm of the big bad business world matrix, where money is power and might is right, and those people with connections and those people who are real cute or compelling are able to steal your attention. Get it? It's such a overt microcosm of the rest of our cult year. Like it's fully dominated by the money, and yet some folks sharing deep truths can thrive here. So again, YouTube is itself is similar to what I'm saying in this whole video, is that you can find rays of the divinity on it, but it's dominated by the filth of the hell realm. Sure, they're talented businessmen who never talk about the little hats to most of the ones who have a great following. The algorithm is set up to render it all a big competition. I'm not competitive, and yet I don't know how to do all of the computing and marketing, bells and whistles, along with the SB from the Yahweh thing. So I'm thrown into a contest with millions of other content creators. Well, that's how the whole thing was designed. And I try to take the verbal tightrope walk of telling you the biggest picture without falling into the mistake of encouraging you to stay stuck in limited beliefs like this is only a hell, or the New Cage delusion that thoughts create all this reality and it's all your fault and you have the power to change everything in your life and make it all perfect by just controlling your thoughts. Well, that could certainly improve, but you're going to have to accept the dark facts and the light facts if you really want to be, actually real with your essence. The New Cage delusion that thoughts are reality and you made all of the loose hell realm filth that often surrounds us all. No, you did not create the devil. You did not create the energy extraction system. You did not create war and guns and suffering and torture and rape and all the filthy shit that proliferates in this world. It's not your fault. You didn't do that. Just because you're a member of the human race doesn't mean it's your responsibility to take upon all that you created all that. It's the New Cage is just like psychiatrists who say that every single thought in your head, you made those all up and they all came from you. They all take out of account the hell realm aspect. Don't fall into any delusion if you're smart, folks. Use your real limits to free your mind. Choose to do things while you're in the flesh suit to awaken, to empower, to get real, to get actualized. Knowing your duration here is limited, focus on empowerment and peace. Learn to perceive in a higher frequency so that if you can do this consistently, you don't get drained by the archons. And you notice when they're trying to stick their feeding tube into your aura and you say, nah, I'm not going to act stupid now. I can perceive these ugly, maleficent, ugly faced demons trying to feed. And lately I started to, when I get a thought and it's negative, first I think to myself, is this my thought? Is it coming from me or somewhere else, or is it being exaggerated by the archon? And if it's not a beneficial or not really my thought, I see their head in my. Lately I've been seeing an ugly archonic, like a really old Zeta Gray kind of looking face in my third eye, and saying, no, take that back. You're not going to get that in here. Identifying myself not only with the divinity, but actually physically seeing their ugly ass archonic face in my mind it helps me to detach from it. Accept the unacceptable facts that this realm is run by loser 4, the Angels and the Angels and archons of pure filth. And in this upside down realm, the real gods are imprisoned into, fleshy meat sacks and that are imprisoned even further by financial chains and the mental filth of dogma. My first video on YouTube began with an original tune that kind of proved that I've experienced and expressed that essence decently. It's a decent tune. Yet after that, I've never gotten more than a few hundred views on any video. That one got over 1,000 in one day because my mom put it on Facebook, I think, and of course I'll admit that my refusal to play with any other disgusting social media besides the one you're watching now is a factor. Oh, how dare I share so much uncensored psychological facts without books for sale. What's wrong with me? So sadly, Keith and Joshua's view muddled up my mind, a little bit in the last year or two. With several fairly severe disabilities, I already bought the brainwashing idea that I would, especially after I became codependent, that I would never find a woman I like on earth because in the capitalist system, man, a guy like I am just doesn't deserve anything, apparently, in the 3D capitalistic system. And of course, this hologramic prison was around me for years, as long as my mind was closed to the idea that, there was even the possibility that I could find a beautiful woman I liked. Aside from getting shadow bans, I learned the hard way that to do a ton of work explaining the truths as a boy man would not be very well received. Even if I'm very low on the scale of NPD, if I have that at all, the uncanny valley effect is definitely apparent to some. Even though I wrote the notes to fill up over 10 of these notebooks and read them all out on these videos, on nearly all of them, I only had coffee in me. So I wasn't, when I wrote the notes itself, I never had, I wasn't high. I would take cannabis to try and increase my presence, and to relax and glean a little pseudo self-confidence. Yet people notice how authentic or how exaggeratory we are. I mean, I remember one time, and I'm kind of extreme, I've been kind of an extreme ganja alchemist. And these things I just mentioned are some of the excuses or reasons I had. And, I remember one time I went to the Sunday community gym at Westcliff in Santa Cruz, and I was really, really high. And with tinctures and hash. And I mean, in this occasion was because, and this is another thing about cannabis usage is, Yeah, if you take way too much, it could cause you psychological or social harm and distress at some level. So I had just taken about 150% of as much as I needed to get self confident and feel like I could do good. And I was so full of this pseudo self confidence that people didn't even want to play music with me or listen to me. They just smelled it. They smelled that self confidence came just from the herb. So more recently, I began recording raw rants. I wonder really. I'm pretty sure that there's a few that I have subscribers who think I will empower them with fluffy new cage lies and falsification. Also, are there folks who are here who just want to commiserate about being stuck in a fucking hell realm loose farm? Well, I had three folks unsubscribe this last week, one after the that Thule bog rant. I tell you what, if you're here to feel rotten and validate your anger or depression, unsubscribe. If conversely, you are here to become, because you want me to blow smoke up your ass and fill up your ego with new cage lies, unsubscribe. I'm not here for the numbers. I've caught them deleting numbers. I'm here to share the truth and to help those awaken themselves who have that extreme courage, discernment, and are willing to do the shadow work to get real about both the beauty and goodness and the filth. My awesome little online tribe are those few with the strength and the clear, somewhat healed discernment to admit and see a vast amount of goodness is here within human essence and nature. And the dominating hell realm is also constantly squeezing and trying to drain, thwart, destabilize, or invert and suck down the vast divine human goodness into sick, downgraded, loose puppets. We look at Agenda 2030. We look at the Fabians. We look at Tavistock Institute. We have, yeah, we can go on and on and on about that. But yet, both are true. All this said, December 10, I had a Venus transit. And searching Yandex, just like the same way I found maybe Joshua, or actually I think I might have found him searching for Keith on YouTube, but I found Keith on Yandex, and my dear friend Anika, whose YouTube channel is called The Kismet Spiral. And she's probably the only one, she might even be watching this, hey my friend, and she's probably the only one of the very few on YouTube who's like me in this way. She fully works on her own shadow and admits the Divine Mother is amazingly good and the divinity within us is amazingly potentially good and powerful. So after searching Yandex about human energy harvesting, I discover this fascinating, fine Libra Sagittarius woman exactly a decade younger who has also made hundreds of great talks about mind control and sovereignty. Yet, she still loves the likes of Abraham Hicks and Bashar. She put him on a thumbnail the day after I made fun of him in my unfalsifiable statement talks. So yeah, I mean that's the devil having a funny one on me right there, huh? Well, the thing is I don't really want this air conditioner in the background. She was a beautiful she was a brilliant comedian and musician, and even went to Hollywood to make it big. And that ambition may be one of the more gruesome aspects. But Just like both Joshua and Keith went to Peru and took ayahuasca. So it kind of makes me feel, well, I don't have to do it now. And she went to Hollywood, so I don't have to do it now. Having friends that have gone to these extremes to figure out or to live their dreams in the traditional ways, and only to find out how sick the world is, yeah, it helps us to, we learn why we don't have to do that. Why, well, why I never took ayahuasca. So, but she was an alcoholic. She went through AA and has seemed to do great there. So now she's sober, celibate, strong, and a brilliant teacher. Yet, of course, she believes channelers and the idea that ganja is all bad. I might have made no talks without ever gleaning that green pseudo confidence. Yet I've noticed how vastly limited it can become also to have to use cannabis every time you create, to co-create with cannabis. If you never take tolerance breaks or expect ganja to do all the work for you, it is delusion. If you never even visit your original frequency, your sober self, you might think you're way more laid back, way more horny, way more good natured, and peaceful than you really are. And it's really important to know how you really feel without any kind of drug or plant exaggeration. For some of us, we need things such as peyote, San Pedro, ayahuasca, or ganja to have an experience, a shamanic experience, to get out of the routine of that archontic normality. But a lot of folks just get stuck in that, you know, delusional alternate reality where they think they are this person who's all so laid back or so energized if they're depressed, only to discover that, or if they didn't have any weed, that they become a raging, angry, violent, or depressed kind of person. Well, this is not healthy. And if you think you're that person you are when you're stoned and you never take a break, you really are. You never even know how to regulate your emotions without that smoke. One seemingly kind, fat stoner dude who thinks he's my friend, but I don't really think he is, told me, I don't need you to watch your videos because I'm already enlightened. Yeah, right. Just because you smoke a ton of weed all day, that you really believe that? Well, I could say it to the mic and he ain't going to hear it. Who has a balanced relationship with that intensely powerful plant medicine? Some people do. Some people have a relationship with that plant that my new teacher would never even be able to fathom, because she thinks it's, like just coming from the teachings of AA, it seems. So, or maybe she'll, eventually realize what I'm saying here. Some really do have a balanced relationship with it, but probably not many. I've seen how often the archons can lose stoners and keep them stuck. Cannabis is really a great medicine and tool, but self-protection might be one of its strongest factors, as it's the mental addiction that keeps it proliferating and making it a massive cash crop. Makes people, most of the money people earn with weed isn't because it's healing. Some of it is. It's brilliant at taking care of itself, keeping it going. So now I've been sober a few days without ganja, and I feel okay. Definitely easier to do it out of that haunted town. A warm room and a bathtub and electricity and relative safety. I'm not in quite such a haunted town another day. The thing is, even though it temporarily kills my cancer and inflammation, I don't like to need something outside myself. I still drink coffee, of course, and I don't like having any addiction because any addiction can be often evil because you need it. And if you don't need it, what happens? The only occasion I had a lucid dream was after a week off. So, yes, the massive gift of ganja alchemy has served the majority of the videos of my channel, and musical works in a good way, even if it was pseudo confidence or pseudo relaxed. I don't think I'll ever access the possibility that I can remote view if I don't quit. And then I want to learn that skill. And then I've worried that blissful, wonderful feeling when I take a hit of the most, highest grade organic greenhouse bubble can be used to tempt me back down here after life. That, they're going to, true freedom forbid that I go back to the white light, or they figure out how to get me in there. And then it's like, don't you want to go get high? So in this, as in all things, it is so important to look at the bigger picture and take a balanced, radically honest perspective. The truth is almost never just what you want it to be. Following and obeying new cage grifters' ideas means that you may never get out of psychological hell. She may not watch my videos right now because this contradicts the new cage concepts that she may still believe, some of them. Flea just had a kid. He just decided to learn how to be a jazz trumpet player for the first time in 45 years, since he was 15 years old. He played it for briefly then. And, I bring that up because he's a sun sign Libra. And Dr. Bruce also wasn't so friendly with me the day he saw me at Staff of Life Market ranting about archons and the psychological hell. You see, the majority of Libra sun signs are not like Fela Kuti. They're not going to look the evil in the face and call it out. They want harmony. They want to be in harmony with the community. And I don't know how many of them, not a whole lot of them, are willing to look at any of these facts of the dark. Yet, Dr. Bruce's book, The Biology of Belief, and interestingly enough, he shares these just like my new friend. He also has his moon is Sagittarius and sun in Libra. His book, The Biology of Belief, lays the not rotting foundation for a true perception. Yet it seems most Libras suffer because they refuse to accept evil. Aleister Crowley, on the extreme other hand, showed the strength of the proposition that Venus is Lucifer, as he was a Libra sun sign who may have been the most purely evil person of the 20th century. I saw a woman at the North Bakersfield Walmart Supercenter yesterday with a black Misfits t-shirt on, holding a 1-year-old baby. Why did this upset me? Why did I have to tell her off? I said to her in a not loud voice, only in this sick, inverted world would you wear that shirt with a baby. If you want to know what I'm referring to, just look up the song by the Misfits called Last Caress. And the fact that Glenn Danzig hasn't been hung or shot or, destroyed in some way or the other, and that you could probably find that song on YouTube, it just shows you how filthy our so called civilization really is. She replied to me when I said that. Yeah, ain't it great? Who wants to bring a soul into such a realm as this? That is energized. That is energized at the filthy top by blood sacrifice, and the scum on the top actually drink adrenochrome or stressed blood of a child. Oh, it is so motivational to be successful, as Mr. Astrotheology says it. Not. That being said, my new friend is doing well and helping a lot, doing readings and figuring out financial sovereignty as a healer and rescuing dogs. And the thing is, just like the system I was coerced into years ago, probably the biggest problem with AA is the endless victim narrative. Yes, if she or I, because I have both my dad's dad and my mom's mom were fairly raging alcoholics, so I have that gene. So if she or I has a drink, the disease will probably come back and rear its awful head. But I am not my diseases or boyhood. She is not the problems she had a decade ago. But both systems encourage permanent victimhood in your thoughts. This is not healthy. And yet AA really has helped a lot of people. So I commented to her on a video the other day. Thus, I both respect and reject AA. And of course, it's because I don't accept the patriarchal God. She says it's good to go to church. I say it's usually coalescing with an evil aggregate, an evil she loves God. I love the real good, the real God, which is so often apparent in her, Christ Sophia. So I tell y'all, the few with the courage to stay with me, who appreciate my teachings, don't follow or fall into any of the collective delusions that circumvent most groups. Use these systems to heal if you must, but reject heaven and hell, false morality and giving up and depression. Rumi said, there is a place beyond right and wrong. I'll meet you there. What did he mean? To go beyond, to not be moral or immoral? My interpretation is he meant to get so clear you are above false moralizing and so clean in your essence in the afterlife, you'll know you can and will fly past the veil, soar above the lower astral where the archons and the false self-gods pull you back. Love can transform us in a good way. But we've been trained on this planet to think of it as only, or sexual love is only this biological sucking to drain our fluids for the next generation, that we're mammals to drink each other's essence, physical, drain the fluids out of each other's bodies so that the next generation can live, drain our energy for financial survival, or drain all of our energy so our kids can grow up and not be abused. I mean, all these ideas are really pathological. So only with a clear mind can, emotional or sexual or monogamies or physical or emotional love be healthy. Only with those people who are really willing to do the work. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe and share this talk, even though the beast will hide it or, try to bury it. You got to understand, I don't make videos because I want to talk to a wall. The structures of our demonic society are falling fast. Get out from under the sinking buildings. You know? When you could see that the Fabian society creates situations to destroy everything to rebuild it in the image of loser 4, don't be up under that when it's rebuilt. Do you know what clear perception feels like? Yes, it does include the possibility, if you're real healthy, of physical hierogamy or sacred divine sexual union, tantric bliss. But that may be only if you really fully reclaim your divinity for real. Only you can free your mind from the rotten structures of delusion the Matrix was built on, and it's going to probably be a lot of work. Have a great solstice, even if you are sober. 2026 is a new beginning in numerology. The last year before the CBDC implementation. That's right, January 17th, 2027. 13 months from now, we're going to be going into a whole nother level of financial hell when the government, rolls out the central bank digital currency stable coin for all those dependent on it or working doing business with it so that it can control everything all that much more. So let's see what levels of freedom we can get to before we have to deal with all that. So will you choose to be strong enough to change yourself for the benevolence to reassert itself in your life also? That's the key. Because if you see that this world is only a hell, or if you believe the lies that your mind can do everything to make it all perfect, you're trapped still. It's like Mark Passio said, the New Cage movement is the last cul-de-sac before enlightenment. The Hell Realm theorists get their full audience. Because that's something that causes other people to get depressed and feel anhedonic. And that's probably why my dear friend Joshua hasn't made anything in a while besides his dad passing. So, again, do you have the courage to see beyond the false limitations and realize that the so-called earth, whatever shape it is like a wet clay or a canvas, and that these demonic have been doing a fucking magnificent job of ruining and taking over, but it's not its original nature. Have you also experienced glimmers of the really amazing power of creation within you? Let me know how you have, if you have so. And again, create a great one in your little realm if you have the courage. Love you, folks.